Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tata Steel. This is one of the most exciting tournaments that happens every single year in chess. It's been running for nearly 90 years. And here in 2026, we have a pretty awesome field with some pretty epic games. The world champion Gukesh is playing, and heavy is the head that wears the crown. Really. There is so much talk since Gukesh became the world champion about who's going to be the next challenger, about all the stuff with Magnus Carlsen not participating and so on and so forth. And, you know, his career is developing. He's only 19 years old, and he is going to have his hands full, I think, with the upcoming candidates with the next World Championship match. And today I will cover his game as well as several others in this amazing field of players. Let's kick things off with a very fun appetizer game. I'm going to give you a nice little starter here. This is the all-Uzbek clash, Sindarov versus Abdulov. This game I will not cover in great detail, just a couple of very fun moments. And then I will show you this game with Gukesh versus Bluebaum. And if you follow the chess world closely, you will remember that Bluebaum is actually playing in the upcoming candidates tournament, and he will be the bottom seed. I made a tier list about the candidates, but I very specifically pointed out that Bluebaum is a very fake underdog in many ways. We will cover that in a second. First, this game between the two Uzbeks, Sindarov and Abdulov, actually both leading the tournament. The game is a Slav defense, and we have g3, bishop g4, a little bit of a strange line here. Sindarov plays knight e5, targeting the bishop. The game gets really weird really quickly. Because Sindarov takes the pawn on d5, and here it's very natural for black to simply take back with the pawn. Instead, we have queen d5, attacking the rook, f3 now, blocking the diagonal. e4 is an idea here. Now, bishop takes the knight on b1 so that the rook no longer defends this pawn. This is totally insane. Sindarov is down 30 minutes on the clock, and Abdulov is coming to take his head clean off. Bishop d2, just protecting the rook, knight d7. All of this is apparently in the notes of Abdulov, who hasn't spent any time yet. Knight goes to c5, rook a1. He kicks out the knight. He plays b4. It's just a rampant initiative for white in this position. Knight c7, pawn takes c6. Now, wait for this move. e6, hitting the rook. Pawn takes b7, bishop takes, and now in this position, Sindarov promotes to a knight. I told you this game was epic. But unfortunately, that's basically where the excitement concludes, as they just shuffle around a little bit. Java here tries to make a little progress, but the game ends in a draw after some 40 moves. A very fun game, but and it had some very creative moves in it, but 99% for both of them and nothing to choose between them. And I kind of figured, you know, how common is it that you see a promotion to a knight in the middle of a top-level tournament? Now, this game. So, Gukesh's tournament has been up and down. He's won a couple games. He's lost some games as well. Yeah, there's been, I mean, questions like every month, every 2 months, you know, youngest world champion ever, all this hype, and then he beats Magnus in the classical tournament, who slams the table, and then, you know, he beats him in rapid, and all this stuff. Really, it's a sensation. Gukesh is really fulfilling the role of having massive media coverage about him all the time, including on this channel. But I like to, you know, play things quite fair. And Bluebaum, you know, Bluebaum is really good. Like 2680, he will be the lowest seed in the candidates, but I think he's going to really surprise a lot of people. So in this game, Gukesh went e4 and Matthias played e5. Now Matthias is a French player. He plays the French all the time. But this is interesting, you know, because in the candidates, he will face a ton of e4, and there's no way you can show up to the candidates and play the French, like every game. You can play the French, but you cannot play the French every game. It's just, it's not a good idea. In this game, Gukesh plays the bishop's opening with d3. Matthias plays c6. He's going to go for d5. Bishop b3, playing directly into the preparation of Gukesh, probably from the World Championship. A check to disturb the balance. Now the knight cannot go there. Pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, castles, castles. Pinning the knight to the queen, defending the central pawn. Now c4. c4 is an interesting move. Black plays d4, closing the center. And Gukesh plays knight e2. Both guys finishing their development. Rook e1, very normal move, centralizing. And here Matthias is on his own. Gukesh voluntarily gives himself kind of a bad bishop, but he will try to expand that structure like this. The bishop can always come back. The knight will try to go to e4. He plays bishop f5 here, centralizing move. He had many moves here. Bishop f5 is a reasonable one. Now Gukesh plays knight e4, and black trades off the bishop for the knight. The point is that now white has to make a little bit of a decision. Do you take with the pawn or the rook? Takes with the rook. Now you target the bishop, because if the bishop moves, you will be able to take the rook, so the bishop has to take. And we have this position. And black is better. They're really, I think knight e4 was the incorrect approach. I think white needed to play bishop a4 to try to get rid of this kind of bad bishop for a key piece, like the knight, which is going to try to go to c5. The way that it's played in this game is that, black just has a better position here. Gukesh brings the rook back to e1. He has ideas, of course, to play bishop c2, a3, b4, but he will struggle mightily to get this bishop into the game. Maybe he will try like this, or maybe he will try to go through the f3 square, but black just has an advantage. Now, can the candidate, the underdog of the candidates, beat the world champion, right? Really, Bluebaum is having the year of his life, the last, 12 to 18 months. Every game that he plays, he looks utterly miserable. I have to tell you, he just looks like a troubled musician, really, suffering from success. Plays a5, stops Gukesh from playing b4. White just optically has a very pleasant position here. It's very difficult for white to move his light-squared bishop. Now Gukesh is going to try. He plays queen h5. And Matthias, Matthias has had very good positions against many people. He had a great position against Erdogmus. He was completely winning against Tai from the Czech Republic, from Czechia. Queen f6, a3, Gukesh still trying to do... Gukesh playing very normally. He's trying to expand on the queen side. But Bluebaum just goes a pawn up because his position was so strong, and Gukesh trying to sacrifice. And he senses the moment. He plays this amazing move e4, and white's position is just totally collapsing. You take on e4, here comes knight g5. He's going to win the pawn back. Maybe he's not even going to win the pawn back. Maybe white went for 2 pawns. Now white has to move the queen somewhere, like to g6. And d3 comes in, sacrificing yet another pawn, but f2 is a massive problem. Bishop d3, bishop f2. He doesn't even pick the rook up. He attacks the queen first. Now he picks the rook up, and he's just winning. Matthias is just totally winning here. The attack is incoming on the f-file. Knight e4 is coming in, right? Because you have to be careful, always protecting the f1 square. So white plays h4. Look at this amazing move. Queen e5. Queen e5 is incredible. To find this move, it's just, what is the idea of queen e5? The idea of queen e5 is to cover h2, to threaten queen c3, which is a triple fork, and if hg5, you actually just take with the pawn, and rook h6. The knight cannot be taken. You play king g1, rook h6, queen g4, queen d4 is mate. Your king is mated. It's mate. Rook e3, queen. So queen e5 appears on the board, rook g1 from Gukesh, and just queen g3, and that's it. The bishop hangs, and there is absolutely nothing you can do here to defend yourself. Also, black has another threat here, which is really nasty. For example, if you play bishop e2, you have rook f4, rook h4. Black also, I'm pretty sure, has ideas of, g6. And if queen h6, knight f7 trapping the queen, because if the queen goes here, this is checkmate. Matthias Bluebaum gets a position from the opening where he's minus 0.6 and completely, comprehensively outplays the world champion. Just amazing. Gukesh has 3 losses in his last 4 games. But this happens to Gukesh. He can go, he just had 5 decisive games in a row. So he won, and then he lost 2, and then he won, and then he lost. And this tournament is not just about him. A lot of players win a game, and then they lose a game because anybody is capable of beating anybody. Gukesh started with 4 draws, and now he has 5 decisive results. He's obviously mixing it up, and I respect that very much. But man, I gotta tell you, heavy is the head that wears the crown. He's now ranked number 12 in the world, 2745, and he's only 1 rating point, I think, above Prague, who is 2744. So a lot of rating shifts going on. I think when Gukesh became the world champ, he was 2780. And that just goes to show you that in the top rankings, 30 points go up and down all the time. Another player who's gaining a bunch of points is Bluebaum. Another player who is losing a bunch of rating from his 2770 is Vincent Keymer, who has had a tough tournament. He's won some games. He started with a fantastic win against Anish Giri, but then he lost to Fedoseev, and then he also lost to Bluebaum. His tournament has been all over the place. But in this game, the spotlight is really on his opponent, Jordan van Foreest, because this is... So, it's a London, right? Like an opening that is kind of memed on. Oh, it's like a lazy opening, intermediate beginner players, like they play this opening and they, they just lazily trot out all the pieces. But this is such a potent opening if your opponent is A, not suspecting it, and even if B, they are suspecting it, like it is a layered opening. I mean, and 2,700 FIDE can play this opening means any of you can play this opening. So Black has multiple approaches. Most of them involve C5. In this game, Black opts for this one, trying to trade the bishop. You can rocket back. You generally shouldn't take. You can also jump your knight into E5. And another idea is bishop D3. And the idea here is to get your opponent to take you, to double your F-pawns. And that's kind of the trade-off. But then you have very good control of E5, which is completely reasonable. Now, as you can tell from the time spend, I think Vincent was just picking his options. And sometimes when you have an opening like the London in front of you, it can be, you kind of have this pressure of like, all right, I should be able to equalize against this. There's like 10 ways to equalize against this. What do I do? So he opts for taking, and also maybe trying to get his opponent out of preparation, like a queen d6. Queen d6 attacks the pawn. White just plays very simple queen d2, stopping queen b4, stopping queen f4, and Vincent plays b6 with two ideas, c5 and maybe potentially trading White's light squared bishop. White is no longer relying on checkmate here. It's probably not going to happen. You're going to play some moves like castling and controlling the square. But Jordan now spends some time and plays knight c3. This is also a very interesting move. It's not a move that I would have expected. I mean, generally with this structure, you kind of go for your pyramid, but that's actually not the best plan here. Knight c3 is the best move. You have ideas of knight b5. You also stop knight e4, right? You fight for the e4 square, and knight e5 isn't coming, and the position is deceivingly tricky for Black. You can castle or castle this way, or you can do what Jordan does in this game. h4. This is a tough move to meet with Black. And nowadays in the London, and frankly in a lot of openings, this flank pawn attack, with or without castling, but generally without, supported by the rook, very tricky to meet. If Black just plays h5, you permanently get g5, right? So your knight can always go here, and it will just live there, right? Another key idea is rook h3, rook g3. So you're always attacking. Now, if Black plays the move h6, that's actually even worse, because then after knight e5, g4, g5 comes in, and it crashes through. So then, okay, well, if you can't play h5 and h6, you can, but they both come with risks. What do? Okay, you just ignore it, and you play on that side of the board. Yeah, but now I go h5. And once again, you are faced with a very difficult decision. Do you play h6, or do you allow me to go h6? And like I said, sometimes in the London, you overthink things. Like here, Vincent played knight c6 after 10 minutes, and here he just played bishop b7. He's just completely ignoring the position. But after h6, things are not so simple for Black. You would think, okay, very simple, I just play the move g6. White's idea doesn't make any sense, because I'm just not going to castle. Or even if I do castle, I don't understand how you're going to mate me. But here comes bishop b5. This London bishop, which is supposed to be all part of this attack, is going to trade itself off for the knight. Why? Because the position's very closed. Position's very dense, 8 pawns per player, which means the position is much easier to maneuver in as a horse. You jump into squares, whereas the bishop is not going to be as powerful for Black, and White will have a much easier time putting the knight on e5 or g5, castling, and trying to continue the attack. Vincent now, again, he has many options here, but he spends 26 minutes, and the general rule of thumb in chess, and I am a victim of this as well, although I'm a self-imposed victim, when you spend about 15-20 minutes on a move, and more than that, you're going to play a bad move. Because the truth is, if you were confident in your ability to find a good move, you would have played it faster. It means you don't really like things. And this decision to play c4 and lock the center is not going to benefit him, because after knight to e5, Black maybe has one final chance to get into an unpleasant but defendable position. Even castling here is not completely horrible. Like, it looks really dangerous, but it's not. I mean, b5, and if g5, knight d7, I mean, yeah, sure, it doesn't look great, but instead of that, Vincent goes knight to g8. And the idea of knight g8 is to play knight e7 and f6 and kick this knight out and live happily ever after. The problem is that's never going to happen. Jordan castles long. Black plays the move f6, trying to get rid of the knight. But Jordan follows the age-old principle here of, well, I've castled and developed everything, and my opponent's king is in the center of the board. So what if I don't let my opponent get the king safe? What if I strike while it's hot? And he sacrifices the knight. And this is bad, because after pawn takes c4, in comes d5. This move is already threatening to immediately regain material, but it's actually even worse than that. Pawn takes d5. It doesn't look like white has much. It looks like black is a move away from consolidating everything, but queen e3 is crushing. It's crushing because the rook is going to be the one to take on d5, and black just cannot defend the position. Whether the king moves, or the knight blocks, or the queen blocks, it's completely fatal. Vincent spends 17 minutes and plays king to f8. Rook d5 is a crusher. Queen e7 looks like you're going to trade material, but it is queen to d2 that wins white the game. And after rook e1 and rook d7 both appear as possibilities, it's just over. Black is playing without two pieces. Black being up material is a trick. It's an illusion. Rook d7, rook e1 are both coming. And in just a matter of moves, Vincent Keymer has to part ways with some of his pieces. And in general, when you have such beautiful positions, tactical opportunities arise. And Jordan wins this game in style. He plays queen d5, takes the rook. And after pawn takes e5, looking for a mutual complication, he bulldozes the pawn on g6. You cannot take it because it's a fork. You cannot take this because queen a8 is mate. Vincent Keymer resigns. 26 moves, 25 and a half moves to win with the London. An incredible game. The London reappears multiple times at top level every year, and when you are caught off guard and you overthink things in the London, I mean, like, look how absolutely venomous this became. H4, you just don't know. Like, do you play H5? Do you play H6? And this position happened once in a game between Tabatabe and David Anton from Spain in the Spanish League in 2024. Now, you might think I remember that by heart. I don't. I just saw that when I was looking at the position. And in that game, black played the move a6, and white went for h5 and h6, and white got a completely dominant position, but went on to lose. But 2 times now, white has gotten black into this position. And to be honest with you, maybe these people need to stop taking the bishop on f4. Like, maybe that's the explanation. But if this is a really powerful system with bishop d3, I don't know. I mean, maybe white is just going to have a great time here. Bishop d3 might just be the way to go to put the knight on c3. And Jordan wins against Vincent. And another player from the Masters section who is just having the time of his life beating up on old people. And by old people, I mean So Erdogmus is playing in this section. I think he's the youngest player. He's 14. He's 2690 FIDE at this point. And the oldest player in this section is Anish Giri, who is 31. How's that for a fun fact? The oldest player in the section is 31 years old. Bananas. And here we go. A matchup of Tie-Dye from Czechia and Erdogmus. This one not particularly fascinating. It's a Spanish. It's a sideline where black kind of plays it like a King's Indian defense, Peart's type of system, knight b8, and, you know, there's a lot of intricate details of the Spanish, but I'm not gonna lie to. I'm really not gonna lie to you. I don't understand all of them, and if I don't understand them, you don't understand them. So we're not gonna pretend to understand them. But I will tell you that Erdogmus got the bishop pair in this game, right? He sacrificed the pawn. You can look at the position yourself. White is a pawn up, but black is gonna have long-term compensation in the form of these bishops, in the form of the open files on the queen side. And even though white is up a pawn, it's not comfortable. It is really uncomfortable, and Erdogmus is putting the pressure. Now he has an opportunity to win the pawn back. He doesn't. He still has an opportunity maybe to win the pawn back, but he's going to have to trade off some pieces. He continues to just keep the pressure. White has a minute. He has a minute now, and this is the 28th move. The time control of this game is that you have a minute and 6 seconds for the rest of the game until move 40. So he needs to make 12 moves in 66 seconds. May the time start ticking. He makes the next move in 17 seconds. That is not efficient. Bishop a6, he makes the next move in 3 seconds. He now has 10 moves to make with 46 seconds on the clock. Pressure is building. At some point, he's going to blunder something. Like right now. Rook takes b2. Now black is up a pawn and has a good position. Knight to a4. Something tells me when you put 4 out of your remaining 6 pieces all on one file, it might be a bad sign. The position does look very tricky. And here black is actually just winning with a very simple move, queen b4. Queen b4 threatens a queen trade. And actually even worse than that, your rook has nowhere to move after that. But what are you talking about, Levy? Queen b4. What do you mean my rook has nowhere to move? I can move like to, I don't know. Well, what does rook b1? Takes. Bishop b5. That's an unstoppable mate. Or at a very minimum, you're going to lose material. Knight b3. Oops. And now you can't defend yourself. Erdogmus applying pressure in the Spanish like a 44-year-old, not a 14-year-old. And he wins again. Erdogmus now has 3 wins out of his last 4 games. He beat Jordan van Foreest, he beat Arjen Erigaisi, and he beat Tai-Dai. And I will, before I move on to the next group, I would like to look up his live rating. I do believe it is 2690. And I think he is just about to break in to the, 2688 is his rating. Insane. He is up 18 spots in the world rankings. And in the last 12 months, he has gained 132 points. Unreal. Completely unbelievable. Just crazy. Like the fastest rate of growth of any grandmaster in the world right now is this young man from Turkey. Just amazing. Okay, let's go to the challengers, where 2 young guys by the name of Andy Woodward and Marc-Andre Maurizzi, 3 guys, and Aydin Suleymanli from Azerbaijan. Yeah, totally. Like US, France, and Azerbaijan are just pillaging. I mean, they are taking points from everybody. In this game, we have Daniil Yuffa, who is a Russian grandmaster, but I think over the last few years is part of the exodus. Like a lot of grandmasters from Russia have left, changed their federation. He now represents Spain. So does Maxim Chigayev. And there might be more, but those are the only ones I remember right now. d4, knight f6, Andy Woodward, knight f3, b6, Queen's Indian defense. Traditional main line, all of this has been played. Rook e1, yeah, it's very popular. Now black has many options. h6 is some sideline, never seen this move in my life. Andy also makes an improving move. Black plays d5. And in this position, white likes to play knight c3, bishop f4, rook c1, sometimes h4. In general, you play knight e5. And let's just observe the Queen's Indian masterclass from the teenager from the United States. Black plays c5, white brings the rook back to c1. Black advances and locks the center, which means that now white can break open the center and things are about to get a little bit spicy. So you take knight d2. Now white has the option to take one or both pawns potentially. Black plays b5, giving up the pawn on e4, and knight takes e4 appears. Bishop d5, by the way, the engine here was demanding that black plays g5 and f5. g5 and f5, just commit fully to expanding on that side of the board. I'm not so sure, that's a little bit difficult to play. Queen h5. Andy with beautiful and patient piece coordination. Black also keeping it patient. Now it's kind of like interesting. Where is Andy going to play from here? Bishop e5. Okay, but where, like, is he trying to get this to an endgame? Where's his middle game advantage? Queen f3. Okay, bishop f5. I see maybe bishop back and queen e4 and mate. Okay, I mean, I'm not stupid. I can see that. He's generating some sort of an attack. Black goes bishop takes, pawn takes. Actually, that trade greatly improved white's position. Black needed to kind of sit and not really do too much, but it doesn't feel so easy to do that. You feel like you're creating a defense. And then your opponent plays the bishop to d7, and now you realize, oh goodness, because now you can't move your rook. Your rook is disconnected. White is going to go rook to d6 pretty soon. What do you do here? Knight e6, rook d6. And in this utterly absurd position, black is helpless. That bishop on d7 completely disconnects all of black's pieces. You try to remove the bishop. Now I do remove it, but if you take me, I'm going to take with the pawn and promote my pawn. So he can't do that. Andy repositions, wins himself a pawn, defends everything in the position, plays rook c5, and now it's not even about attacking anymore. It's just simply about, oh no, it's still about attacking, but ultimately this will result in an endgame where white has a 2-pawn queen endgame advantage. If you've watched my recaps throughout this tournament, you know that Andy just beat somebody in 150 moves in an equal queen endgame. Imagine how good he is when he has 2 extra pawns. He's really good. It's very easy to win a queen endgame when you have multiple pawns. Black just resigns. Of course, this pawn would have, like for example, queen here, you just go queen a7, you centralize the queen and you promote your pawn. Like, black has no counterplay, none. You might be thinking, oh, Levy, I mean, I would, yeah, I understand you might not win it, but it's just a matter of time, because what happens is the pawn just goes, and at some point with white, you give a check, the king goes to h8, let's say, and then you can centralize your queen on this square, bring the king, and slowly get the queen to c6, b7, and promote. There is just absolutely there's no hope at all. So Andy Woodward has 7.5 out of 9. Actually, he doesn't even have 7.5 out of 9. Andy Woodward has 7.5 out of 8. He lost the first game of the tournament, and since then, he has won 7 out of 8 games. Unreal. Unreal. And if he wins, he plays the Masters next year, because the winner of the Challengers plays the Masters. I got a few more games. Max Warmerdam has had a tournament to forget, but he's still one of the strongest players in the section. And the person winning the section is Marc-Andrea Maurizzi, who I believe is from Corsica. Hence the extremely Italian name, if I'm not mistaken. Now, in this game, we get some sort of new age Queen's Gambit declined. Like nowadays in the Queen's Gambit declined, you can take on d5, and then you can play e3, h3, e3, a3, g4. The grandmasters of the last, 70 years, some of them, may they rest in peace, are rolling over like, what are these youngins doing? But you just go in with the bishop, you get the bishop pair. Black is better, according to the computer, but Marc-Andrea is not a computer. He's just a dude. And so, yeah, it's not so simple to play these positions, and, it's easier to attack than to defend. And in this game, that is exactly what Max Warmerdam is about to do. He's about to attack the king. And what's going to always benefit him is the white, the white target on d5. Black has a weak pawn. Black tries to defend himself. Guess what? Defending is more difficult than attacking. And after, some 15, 20 moves, just a devastating attack brewing with various checkmating ideas on the g-file. Black is looking for counterplay, but ain't no counterplay here. Just absolutely no counterplay whatsoever. And he sacrifices the rook on g7. I know I didn't yell it, but that's okay. I'll yell it in a more special occasion. Completely obliterates the king's position. And Max Warmerdam played this game like a man who has not had by the way, he sacrificed 2 rooks. Okay, 2 rooks, may I say. But this position is just totally winning. Queen h8 is mate. And Marc-Andrea allows him to checkmate him. Max Warmerdam played this game like he's the one leading the tournament, not like he's the one with 3 points out of 8. 3 out of 8 for the 2580 FIDE rated local. He lost 4 games up to this point, but this is clearly, Max Warmerdam clearly capable of playing at this level. And he does. He lost the first 2 rounds of this. He lost 3 out of his first 4 games, which is kind of nuts, but totally capable of roaring back. And this was an amazing game, really, really creative game. Marc-Andrea takes a step back. And the last game that I would like to show you is the game between Aydin Suleymanli, who I believe is 16 or 17 years old, and Faustino Oro, who is trying to become the youngest grandmaster ever. He has 40 days left until March. He started the tournament very well, but I would just like to show you this game because even at the level of the prodigies of 12, 14, 16, 18 years old, there's levels. So Faustino played the Carl Khan, and there's an old line with knight c3 and g4. That line is ass. Like nowadays, the cutting edge stuff here is g4, h4, knight f3, some sort of short variation. A lot of grandmasters are playing some weird sidelines. Yeah, so Aydin plays some old thing, g4, knight e2. There's a line here where black plays like this, sacrifices the pawn. I used to play this all the time in 2012. Nobody knew what to do with white and I would win all the time. But then, now, engines show that, white is okay and the position is quite dangerous for black. And here, black needed to play the move queen to b6. Like, this position has been reached maybe 10, 15 times. The line is extremely sharp. Queen b6, queen d2, Black takes another pawn. Then black takes a third pawn. So from the opening, black is down. Sorry, I apologize. White took a pawn. Black wins 2 pawns. So black is a pawn up. I miscounted. I thought that this pawn belonged to the wrong person. So basically, this is the line. White sacrifices all of this material and looks for tactics like this. That is the line. You have to go queen b6, queen takes, take this, then you have to create counterplay. Faustino forgot the line. He played queen a5. The danger of forgetting the line in such a sharp position, especially against a 2630 rated young man, is he's gonna take your head clean off. Like, there is no coming back from this. You know, we kind of see in the games that I showed you, like here Max took his opponent into a strange line, and even though the engine blessed it for the other color, very quickly White got the better position. He got like a very interesting sharp line, great prep, great position, and we see this throughout, right? We see it throughout. We see it in the Jordan game as well. Simple attacking chess. So bishop b5, black has to do this. He takes, and then he castles. White is a pawn up. The king is in a ridiculous position, like with all this, but black has to prove that he has compensation. Faustino's a positional player. To be a pawn down in a line that you don't have a lot of experience in, and you have to play really tactically, rook b8, he does a very fine job, but the thing is, at some point, the fine line runs out, and you don't play all the accurate moves, and it's much easier to be a pawn up and attacking. That's kind of the motto of this video. And he shuts down the queen side. He's going to jump his knight to a4 at some point. There it is. Queen c3, nice and easy. The knight comes back to g3. There is no play here at all. Knight e4. It looks like you're getting somewhere. You're not. Knight c5, completely shutting down the black position. He's going to take the second pawn, the third pawn, and after some 34, 35 moves, it's just over. Aydin is up 4 pawns. He's up 4 pawns, 7 pawns to 3 by the end of the game. He's like great opening preparation, but also just the skill of these young players. He has 7 out of 9. Andy Woodward has 7.5 out of 9. Marc-Andrea lost this game. He still has 6.5 out of 9. The standings in the challengers are 7.5, 7, and 6.5. It's those 3 guys, and then it's Ivanchuk, who's a legend. Ivanchuk might be older than the next 3 guys combined. I think it's like 17, 17, 17. That's nuts. That is so crazy. I don't know how old Ivanchuk is. He might be in his mid-50s. Just incredible. Like, really. If you just think about the top. And by the way, Bibisara, number 5. What a beast. 5 points for her. We've got a lot of 2600s here who are actually doing worse than the players on the top. Yeah, this is a 3-horse race. If Ivanchuk can string a couple of wins together, that would be epic. He does play Andy Woodward and Aydin Suleymanli next. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So in the next round, Ivanchuk will play Woodward and then he'll play Suleymanli. Ooh, this is a very fun time. And in the Masters, it's still Nodjerbek, but it's 3 people with 5.5, including Yaz Khan Erdogmus. Can you imagine if a 14-year-old kid wins the Tata Steel Masters? Just crazy, really. Like, and in the next round, he plays Gukesh, which is just awesome. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I really can't wait. It's going to be an epic conclusion to the tournament. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.